Grocery prices for fresh vegetables have jumped 28% in the last 18 months. And most backyard gardeners are still watching half their garden wilt and die every single summer, without realizing there is a permanent solution growing in gardens across the southern half of this country right now. Today I'm covering 8 vegetables that don't just survive extreme heat, they absolutely thrive in it. No shade structures required, no constant watering required. And number 4 on this list is the one nobody expects. And it will completely change what you think is possible in 95-degree weather. Stay with me, because the bonus tip at the end of this video alone is worth watching every single minute. Real quick before we get into this. If you are exhausted from planting tomatoes and cucumbers every spring only to watch them struggle and quit producing by mid-July when the real heat arrives, this channel was built specifically for you. Hit that subscribe button right now. This is not theory. This is not content for people with perfect greenhouse setups and irrigation systems. This is practical gardening for real people with real heat limitations who still want to harvest fresh vegetables all summer long. Every single week, I give you exactly what you need to grow more food with less frustration.
Before we get started, be sure to check out the plants, tools, and products featured in this video. Everything you need is linked right in the description below.
Subscribe and let's get into it. Vegetable 8. Okra. Most people hear okra and immediately picture Southern cuisine, which is exactly right. But what they don't realize is why okra became a staple crop across the entire South in the first place. It's not cultural preference, it's agricultural reality. Okra thrives in heat that kills everything else. When your garden thermometer hits 95 to 105 degrees, the temperature that shuts down pollination in tomatoes and turns squash leaves to paper, okra is hitting peak production. A single healthy okra plant will produce 30 to 50 pods per week during the height of summer. That's 8 to 12 pounds of fresh okra per plant over a full season. At $4 to $6 per pound at most grocery stores, you're looking at $32 to $72 in production from one plant. Do that math. Okra grows successfully in USDA zones 5 through 11. Which covers everything from the mid-Atlantic down through Texas and across to Southern California. You can grow okra in a container, minimum 5 gallons per plant, or directly in the ground. It needs full sun, that's 8 hours minimum. Any well-draining soil works. Fertilize once at planting with a balanced vegetable fertilizer. Water deeply twice per week when pods are forming. That is the entire care schedule. Here's the detail most people skip entirely. Harvest okra pods when they're 2 to 4 inches long, not 6 inches, not when they look big enough. At 2 to 4 inches, because once pods get larger than 4 inches, the plant interprets that as successful seed production and slows down new pod formation. You want the plant constantly trying to make more seeds, which means constantly producing more pods. Harvest every other day during peak season. That one discipline alone will double your total harvest. Beyond food production, okra is beautiful. The hibiscus family flowers are pale yellow with deep red centers. Plant it along a fence line and you get both food and ornamental value in the same space. Drop a yes in the comments if you've ever paid $5 for a tiny container of fresh okra at a farmer's market. Vegetable 7. Armenian cucumber. Before you think you already know cucumbers, Armenian cucumber is not actually a cucumber. It's a melon. Cucumis mello variety flexuosus, which means it handles heat completely differently than the cucumbers currently dying in your garden. Standard cucumbers shut down pollination and stop producing when nighttime temperatures stay above 70 degrees. Armenian cucumber keeps producing through nighttime temperatures in the mid-80s. The fruit stays crisp and mild-flavored even when it grows in full afternoon sun, that would turn a regular cucumber bitter and seedy. One vine will produce 25 to 40 fruits over a full summer season, each fruit weighing 8 to 12 ounces. That's 12 to 30 pounds of cucumber-type harvest per vine. English cucumbers at the grocery store run $2 to $3 each. You're replacing $50 to $120 worth of produce from one vine. That math speaks for itself. Armenian cucumber grows in zones 4 through 11. It needs a trellis or support structure. The vines easily reach 6 to 10 feet. You can grow it in a 10-gallon container or in ground. Full sun, 8 hours minimum. Regular garden soil. Fertilize every 3 weeks with a vegetable fertilizer during active production. Water deeply 3 times per week once fruiting begins. Here's what separates success from failure. Let the first 2 to 3 fruits on the vine grow to full size, usually 12 to 18 inches. Then harvest them. This signals the plant to switch from vegetative growth into full production mode. After those first fruits, harvest everything at 10 to 14 inches. Smaller fruits are more tender. And constant harvest keeps the vine producing new flowers instead of putting energy into oversized fruit. The fruit stores in the refrigerator for 2 to 3 weeks without any special preparation. Standard cucumbers go soft and watery in a week. This gives you actual time to use what you harvest instead of racing against spoilage. Have you ever had cucumbers just quit on you in July? Tell me what happened in the comments. Vegetable 6. Yard-long beans. Most people have never heard of yard-long beans, which is remarkable because they outproduce standard green beans by a ratio of roughly 4 to 1 in hot climates, and they do it with less water and zero pest pressure from bean beetles. Yard-long beans are also called asparagus beans or Chinese long beans. They're not actually beans, they're cowpeas. Vigna unguiculata. The same heat tolerance that makes black-eyed peas unstoppable in the South is built into these vining vegetables. When temperatures consistently hit 90 to 100 degrees, yard-long beans accelerate production. A single vine will produce 60 to 100 individual bean pods over a full growing season. Each pod is 12 to 18 inches long and contains roughly the same edible volume as 3 to 4 standard green bean pods. You're harvesting 180 to 400 green bean equivalents from one vine. Fresh green beans run $3 to $5 per pound at most stores. One vine easily produces 8 to 12 pounds. That's $24 to $60 in production. From one plant. These grow in zones 5 through 11. They need a trellis. Vines reach 8 to 10 feet easily. Minimum 5-gallon container or direct in-ground planting. Full sun, any well-draining soil. Fertilize once at planting. Water twice per week deeply. They are borderline drought-tolerant once established. Here's the insider detail. Harvest the pods when they're 12 to 15 inches long and still completely flexible. Not when they reach maximum length. Not when they start to show visible bean bulges inside the pod. At 12 to 15 inches, while still flexible and tender. Once pods mature fully, the plant shifts energy into seed production and slows down new pod formation dramatically. Harvest every 2 to 3 days during peak production in midsummer. The vines also fix nitrogen in the soil, which means when you cut them down at the end of the season, you leave the roots in place and they actively improve your soil for the next crop. You get food production and soil improvement from the same plant. Which vegetable are you planting first? Drop it in the comments. 5 vegetables left on this list, and the next 2 are the ones most people never consider for hot weather gardens. One of them is number 4, the one I teased at the very beginning that changes everything about what you think heat-tolerant vegetables actually look like. And I promise you, it is worth staying for. Make sure you are subscribed. And if you know someone, a neighbor, a friend, a family member, who keeps replanting their garden every summer after the heat kills the first round, share this video with them. You might genuinely save them hundreds of dollars this year alone. 5 vegetables left. Let's finish this. Vegetable 5. Eggplant. Most people who grow eggplant are only getting half the production they should, because they're treating eggplant like tomatoes when they should be treating it like okra. Eggplant is a tropical perennial. In its native climate, it grows year-round in consistent heat. It does not want cool spring weather. It does not want temperature fluctuations. It wants sustained heat, and the hotter it gets, the more aggressively it produces. When daytime temperatures hold steady between 90 and 100 degrees, eggplant enters peak production mode. One plant will produce 8 to 15 full-size fruits over a growing season, or 20 to 40 smaller Japanese or Italian varieties. That's 6 to 12 pounds of eggplant from one plant. At $3 to $5 per pound in most stores, you're replacing $18 to $60 worth of produce per plant. And that's conservative. Eggplant grows successfully in zones 5 through 12. Though zones 9 through 12 can grow it as a short-lived perennial if protected from any frost. It thrives in containers, minimum 5 gallons per plant. Full sun is non-negotiable, 8 hours minimum. It needs rich, well-draining soil with high organic matter. Fertilize every 2 weeks during fruiting with a balanced vegetable fertilizer. Water deeply 3 times per week when fruit is developing. Here's where most people lose half their harvest. Pinch off the first 3 to 5 flowers that appear on the plant. All of them. This forces the plant to build a stronger root system and more robust branch structure before it starts putting energy into fruit production. Those first few fruits would be small anyway, and they slow down the overall productivity of the plant for the entire season. Sacrifice the first flowers. The plant will produce dramatically more fruit overall. Hundreds of gardeners skip this step. The ones who do it see 40% to 60% higher total yields. Eggplant also has incredible ornamental value. The purple-black fruit against deep green leaves is visually striking. Certain varieties have lavender flowers. You can plant eggplant in a decorative container on a patio and get both food production and landscape aesthetics. Have you ever struggled to get eggplant to actually produce? Tell me what happened in the comments. There is almost always one specific, fixable reason. Vegetable 4. Swiss chard. This is the one I mentioned at the very beginning, and I already know exactly what you're thinking right now. Swiss chard is a cool season green. It's supposed to be planted in spring or fall. It bolts in heat. That assumption is costing you one of the most productive, heat-tolerant vegetables you can grow. Swiss chard is a beet. Beta vulgaris variety Xicla. It has the same heat tolerance built into its genetics as the root beets that grow across hot Mediterranean climates and thrive in desert gardens. The difference is this: most people plant chard in spring when temperatures are cool. The plant establishes in cool weather. Then, when heat arrives, the plant interprets the temperature swing as a seasonal change and bolts to seed. But if you plant Swiss chard directly into heat, late May or June in most climates, the plant establishes in hot conditions and treats that as normal. It doesn't bolt, it just grows. A single Swiss chard plant will produce harvestable leaves continuously for 4 to 6 months when planted into sustained heat and harvested correctly. You can harvest 30 to 50 individual outer leaves from one plant over a full season. That's 3 to 5 pounds of greens. Fresh chard runs $4 to $6 per pound at most grocery stores and farmers markets. One plant replaces $12 to $30 worth of produce. Plant 6 of them and you have greens all summer. Swiss chard grows in zones 3 through 10, but thrives in heat in zones 7 through 10. It grows beautifully in containers, minimum 3 gallons per plant. full sun to partial shade. It will tolerate 6 hours of sun in extreme heat. Rich, well-draining soil. Fertilize every 3 weeks with a balanced fertilizer. Water deeply twice per week. More if leaves start to look droopy midday. Here's the critical detail. Harvest only the outer leaves. Never more than 1/3 of the total leaves on the plant at one time. Cut the leaf stem at the base near the soil line. Leave the inner growing crown completely untouched. The plant will continuously produce new leaves from the center. If you harvest the whole plant or take too many leaves at once, you shock it into trying to reproduce, which means bolting to seed and end of production. Beyond production, Swiss chard is one of the most visually striking vegetables you can grow. Bright Lights variety has stems in neon pink, yellow, orange, red, and white. Planted in a front yard bed, and neighbors will ask what ornamental plant it is. Then you tell them you eat it. 3 vegetables left, and these last 3 are pure production monsters in heat. Number 1 is the highest yielding vegetable on this entire list by total weight. If you are still watching, make sure you are subscribed. Hit that button right now, because every single week this channel gives you exactly what the big gardening channels won't tell you, the practical details that actually matter. 3 left. Let's go. Vegetable 3, southern peas. Nobody realizes how completely achievable 10 to 15 pounds of fresh peas from one small garden bed actually is. But that's exactly what southern peas produce in heat that would kill English peas, snap peas, and snow peas in a matter of days. Southern peas include black-eyed peas, Crowder peas, cream peas, lady peas, and dozens of other varieties. They are all the same species, Vigna unguiculata, and they all share the same extreme heat tolerance. These plants were developed over centuries in West Africa and adapted across the American South specifically because they thrive in conditions where other vegetables fail. When temperatures consistently run 90 to 105 degrees with high humidity, southern peas hit maximum production. A 4-foot by 8-foot bed, 32 square feet, will produce 10 to 15 pounds of fresh-shelled peas over a full season. Fresh-shelled peas run $5 to $8 per pound at most stores. That's $50 to $120 in production from one small bed. Do that math. Southern peas grow in zones 5 through 11. Bush varieties need no support. Vining varieties need simple stakes or a short trellis. They grow well in containers, 5 gallons minimum per 2 to 3 plants. Full sun, 8 hours minimum. They grow in poor soil better than almost any other vegetable. Fertilize once at planting with a light application. Over-fertilizing produces leafy plants with fewer pods. Water once per week deeply once established. They are genuinely drought-tolerant. Here's the insider knowledge. Plant southern peas in late spring or early summer when soil temperatures are consistently above 70 degrees. Not in cool spring soil like English peas. They will rot in cool soil, wait for heat, and inoculate the seeds with a cowpea-specific inoculant before planting. The inoculant costs $6 to $8 and treats enough seeds for a home garden for 3 years. It introduces beneficial bacteria that colonize the roots and fix atmospheric nitrogen directly into the soil. The plants grow faster, produce heavier, and improve your soil while they do it. You can harvest southern peas fresh and shell them like English peas. Or you can let the pods dry on the plant and harvest them as dry beans for long-term storage. One crop. 2 completely different harvest options based on your needs. How many years have you been meaning to try growing your own peas? Drop the number in the comments. Vegetable 2, New Zealand spinach. Most people hear spinach and immediately picture the cool season green that bolts the second temperatures hit 75 degrees. New Zealand spinach is not related to spinach at all. It's Tetragonia tetragonioids, and it thrives in heat that would kill regular spinach in 48 hours. New Zealand spinach is native to coastal areas of New Zealand, Australia, and parts of Asia, where it grows year-round in sandy soil with salt spray, full sun, and sustained heat. It has no biological relationship to true spinach, but the leaves taste nearly identical. They have the same mild, slightly mineral flavor. They cook the same way. They work raw in salads the same way. For all practical purposes, it's spinach that grows in extreme heat. One plant will spread 2 to 3 feet wide and produce harvestable leaves continuously for 3 to 5 months in sustained summer heat. You can harvest 40 to 60 individual stem tips from a single plant over a full season. That's 2 to 4 pounds of greens from one plant. Fresh spinach runs $6 to $10 per pound at most grocery stores. One plant replaces $12 to $40 worth of greens. Plant 4 of them and you have fresh spinach all summer, while everyone else is buying imported greens. New Zealand spinach grows in zones 3 through 11 as an annual. It tolerates poor soil, drought, and heat better than almost any leafy green. It grows in containers, minimum 5 gallons per plant because of the spreading growth habit. Full sun, 6 to 8 hours. Sandy or well-draining soil. Fertilize once at planting. Water once per week deeply once established. It is borderline drought tolerant. Here's what separates good production from exceptional production. Harvest only the growing tips, the top 3 to 4 inches of each stem. This forces the plant to branch. Each cut stem tip sends out 2 new growing shoots. The more you harvest, the more it branches, and the more total leaf surface you get from the plant. Never strip all the leaves off a stem. Always cut just the tips. The plant will become bushier and more productive with every harvest. The leaves are slightly succulent, thicker than regular spinach. They hold up better in cooking. They don't wilt into nothing the way regular spinach does. You get more cooked volume per pound of fresh leaves. 1 vegetable left. And this is the highest producing heat-loving vegetable you can grow by total weight. If you grow nothing else from this list, grow this one. And make sure you are subscribed right now. Because next week, I'm covering the single biggest mistake killing production in summer gardens. And it has nothing to do with the plants you're choosing. 1 vegetable left. Here it is. Vegetable 1, summer squash, specific varieties. I saved this one for number 1 deliberately. Not because summer squash is surprising. Everyone knows zucchini and yellow squash. But because most people growing summer squash are choosing varieties bred for cool climates and moderate temperatures. Those varieties collapse in sustained heat above 95 degrees. And then gardeners assume summer squash can't handle heat. That assumption costs them the single highest producing vegetable they could grow. Cocozelle, Costata romanesco, Tromboncino, Tatume. These are summer squash varieties specifically bred in hot Mediterranean and Latin American climates for sustained heat production. When temperatures hold steady between 95 and 105 degrees, these varieties thrive. One plant will produce 15 to 30 pounds of squash over a full growing season. At $2 to $3 per pound in most stores, that's $30 to $90 in production from one plant. Plant 3 of them, and you're replacing $90 to $270 worth of produce. But here's where it gets better. Tromboncino is a vining squash that climbs. You can trellis it vertically and grow 25 to 40 pounds of squash in 4 square feet of ground space. That is unmatched production density for a heat-tolerant vegetable. Nothing else on this list produces that much total weight in that little space. These varieties grow in zones 3 through 11. Bush types need 3 to 4 feet of space. Vining types need a trellis or support structure. All of them grow in containers. Minimum 10 gallons per plant for bush types, 15 gallons for vining types. Full sun, 8 hours minimum. Rich, well-draining soil with plenty of organic matter. Fertilize every 2 weeks during active production. Water deeply 3 times per week when fruiting. Here's the detail that separates 15 pounds of harvest from 30 pounds of harvest. Pick the squash small, Cocozelle at 6 to 8 inches, Costata Romanesco at 6 to 10 inches, Tromboncino at 8 to 12 inches. Not when they're massive, not when they look big enough, when they're young and tender. Because every squash you let mature to full size signals the plant that it's successfully reproduced. And production slows down. The plant thinks its job is done. Keep picking small. The plant keeps producing desperately, trying to make mature seeds. This one discipline alone can double your total harvest. And Tromboncino specifically has one additional advantage. The young fruit tastes like zucchini. But if you let one fruit mature fully, grow to 2 to 3 feet long and develop a hard shell, it becomes a winter squash. You can store it for 3 to 6 months. One plant, 2 completely different crops depending on when you harvest. These are not new experimental varieties. These are heirloom squash that have been feeding people in hot climates for generations. They work. You just have to plant the right ones. Which of these 8 vegetables surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments right now. I promised you this at the very beginning, and here it is. This applies to every single vegetable on this entire list without exception. Container-grown vegetables in extreme heat face one universal problem most people never see until it's too late: root zone overheating. When a black plastic pot sits in full sun in 100-degree heat, the soil inside that pot can reach 120 to 140 degrees. At those temperatures, roots stop functioning. The plant wilts, growth stops, fruit production drops. And most people assume the plant needs more water, so they water more, which doesn't fix the actual problem. Here's the solution: insulate your containers. Wrap the outside of the pot with burlap, shade cloth, or even cardboard. Or double pot. Put your growing container inside a slightly larger container with an air gap between them. Or paint dark containers with white exterior paint. Any of these methods will drop the root zone temperature by 15 to 25 degrees. That's the difference between roots that function and roots that don't. The materials are free or nearly free. Burlap sacks from coffee shops or garden centers. Most places give them away. Cardboard from any package delivery. Exterior white paint, $8 to $12 for enough to coat a dozen large pots. And the results are immediate. Plants stop wilting in afternoon heat. Growth accelerates. Production increases by 20% to 40% across the board. Mulch works the same way for in-ground plantings. A 2 to 3 inch layer of wood chips, shredded leaves, or straw around the base of the plant keeps soil temperatures 10 to 15 degrees cooler than bare soil. And you can get wood chips free from any tree service company. Call them. Most will deliver a truckload to your driveway at no charge just to avoid the dump fees. Free mulch, cooler roots, better production. This is not theoretical. This is the single most effective thing you can do to increase production from heat-loving vegetables in container gardens or in-ground beds. And almost nobody does it. A lot of people are going to watch this video and not plant a single one of these vegetables. They're going to save it, bookmark it, intend to come back to it. And then summer will end and another year will pass. I want you to hear this as clearly as possible. Your space is not too small. Your soil is not too poor. Your climate is not too extreme. These vegetables have been selected specifically because they handle limitations better than the vegetables you're currently trying to force into conditions they can't tolerate. You do not need a perfect garden. You do not need raised beds or drip irrigation or a greenhouse. You need 5-gallon buckets, basic potting soil, a sunny spot, and seeds. That is the entire requirement. Everything beyond that is optimization. And you can optimize after you start, not before. Every year you wait is another year of full grocery store prices. For vegetables, you could be growing in the same space you're currently using to grow things that don't work. $30 per plant in replaced grocery costs is $240 from 8 plants. That is real money. That is not theoretical value. That is cash you currently spend that you could stop spending. The information is in front of you. The plants are proven. The question is whether you're actually going to do it. If this video gave you something real today, subscribe right now. Not at the end, not later. Because later has a way of becoming never. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Every single week, this channel will give you exactly what you need to grow more food in less than perfect conditions. No filler, no theory, just what actually works. Subscribe right now and drop a comment right now telling me 2 things. Where in the United States are you watching from? And which one of these 8 vegetables are you actually going to plant this season? I read every single comment. Everyone. Where are you from and what are you planting? Let's bring this together one final time. Okra thrives in 95 to 105 degree heat and produces 30 to 50 pods per week when everything else has quit, and turns one plant into $32 to $72 in grocery savings. Armenian cucumber keeps producing through nighttime temperatures in the mid-80s that shut down regular cucumbers and gives you 12 to 30 pounds of harvest from one vine. Yard-long beans outproduce standard green beans 4 to 1 in hot climates with zero pest pressure, and delivers 8 to 12 pounds of beans worth $24 to $60 from one plant. Eggplant enters peak production mode when temperatures hold steady between 90 and 100 degrees, and produces 6 to 12 pounds worth $18 to $60 per plant when you pinch those first flowers. Swiss chard, planted directly into heat in late May or June, grows continuously for 4 to 6 months without bolting, and replaces $12 to $30 worth of greens from one plant while looking beautiful enough for a front yard. Southern peas thrive in 90 to 105 degree heat with high humidity where English peas would die, and produce 10 to 15 pounds worth $50 to $120 from one small 32 square foot bed. New Zealand spinach grows in extreme heat that kills regular spinach in 48 hours and delivers 2 to 4 pounds of leaves worth $12 to $40 from one spreading plant that gets more productive every time you harvest it. Summer squash, specifically Cocoselle, Costata Romanesco, Tromboncino, and Tatume, produces 15 to 30 pounds per plant in sustained heat above 95 degrees. And Tromboncino climbs vertically to give you 25 to 40 pounds in just 4 square feet of ground space, and insulate every single container to drop root zone temperatures by 15 to 25 degrees, and increase production by 20% to 40% across everything you grow. Your garden is not too small. Your climate is not too hot. It's just not planted with the right vegetables yet. I will see you in the next one.